G'day guys, goeiedag, we gaan dit. My name is Wildkard. I have a very important question I would like to ask everybody. How's your bride this morning? Boy, this was painful. I'm glad that the Springboks put away with a win at the end of the game. Going into this game, in my preview, I talked about how this could be extremely close for the Springboks, especially looking at the selections especially in the starting team. There's a lot of newer players. There's a lot of players that hasn't played with each other in the national level. There's obviously a change in the strategy for the Springboks today, going back to that more of a kicking game with 100 Pollard at 10. And yeah, this was, I felt like, some of the players who's been playing with the team with Sasha is probably used to a different style, operating on a different speed. And I was expecting some clunkiness, but boy, that red card to to Franco Mostert this week, almost identical to the Diacha incident, and we're going to look at that in a minute. Really put the Springboks on the back foot. And yeah, this was an Italian team, very disciplined for the most part. Till the end, until fatigue kicked in, they were mostly very disciplined. They were very strategic in their kicking, and I think they had better options and better coordination between the players when it comes to kicking in. Like, the response from their wingers was much better than the Springboks when they were doing their kicking game, especially with some of the high balls. The up and unders from Pollard was just going to nobody, essentially, from the Springbok side. So I thought strategically the Italians were better. The breakdown I saw Italians was very good, and I think the most important, the most concerning thing for the Rasi Rasmus is that one of the iron pillars was shaken today, and that is the scrummaging. The Italians were putting pressure on the Springboks before they went down to 14 players, and afterwards as well. The Springboks tried to put Esterhuizen on the field to add that extra bit of a play. Still, there was tight head turnovers against a full pack Springbok scrum by the Italians in this game, and that is a iron pillar for the Springboks that cannot be shaken for the Rasi Rasmus. And boy, Rasi did a lot of work and a lot of motivation to really, especially half time, really get the players back onto to get that scrum back and really starting to win those scrums again late in the game. And yeah, just really asserting their dominance, asserting their confidence, bringing back to that, that default, that backbone of the Springbok rugby, that the scrum dominance late in the game to finally, putting themselves back in the winning page from there on. So I would like to talk about, the Springboks performance and a little bit about Rasi Rasmus. Now, everybody knows Eddie Jones, right? We have to give credit where credit is due. Eddie Jones is a very good strategic coach in terms of working out a game plan on paper, right? Eddie Jones was able to beat South Africa at the Rugby World Cup 2015 because he was strategically capable and strategically smart in that game, finding the weaknesses of the Springbok team at the time and then exploiting some of the wider spaces that he thought the Japanese, fitter, smaller Japanese players potentially had on Springboks, and he was able to pull it out. There's no doubt about it that Eddie Jones is one of the smartest coaches in the world when it comes to strategically having something down on the paper. But Eddie Jones is not somebody, and look at it, before I talk about that, Rasi Rasmus is also someone that is strategically incredibly good on paper, right? Rasi Rasmus understood the key areas that the Springboks needs to win, which is the scrummaging, the kicking game, the line out, the maul, right? The physical dominance in rush defense, and also, the discipline actions of the players. Don't give away too many silly penalties. That's the foundation of the Springboks, and they built on that wider game with Mani the Bok and Sasha, right? So strategically, Rasi understood where the Springbok strength lies and understands where the Springboks has to go. He has a game plan that he needs to pursue, right? So in terms of being smart on paper, both these coaches are very close. But the difference between Rasi Rasmus winning multiple World Cups and Eddie Jones, right? One World Cup as assistant with Jake White. Eddie Jones has failed to capitalize the World Cup. Is because Rasi Rasmus, as a former, red-blooded Springbok player himself, who played at a Rugby World Cup, understood the player mentality more than just about any other coach in the world. And when your team is down, when your team is clearly not working, whatever Rassi Rasmus said to the players, whatever Rasmus is talking about on the microphone, you can see that, Damian Willemse, who's had an outstanding game, by the way, today, was put off over to the side and giving instructions from Rassi through, the injury, or what do they call it, the water boys. And it just shows that Rassi not just understanding the strategy that needs to be won, but he understands the mentality, the player mentality, and how to motivate the players better than any other coach in the world. And I think that is a difference between the Springboks and every other team in the world. And that is why the Springboks can put out these miracle wins from comeback and win these games 32 points to 14, despite under the pumps. Like, the Springboks didn't really even get the ball into this Italian half for the first 30 minutes. Hardly got into the Italian half for the first 30 minutes, right? And then the Springboks decide to kick a penalty goal, right? And then, the second half, late in the game, clear shift in mentality. We're not kicking penalties right in from the goal post, right? If the Springbok kick the penalty, Italian has to score a converted try, more than a converted try to win already. But the Springboks decided they want to win for the scrum, and then Van der Berg winning for the try right at the end, right? So that's, again, a shift in mentality, understanding how to motivate the players. Is one of the crucial things that Rassi Rasmus is able to do, and getting the players in the right mindset, not just fearing to lose the game, right? And kick penalty as soon as they can. Like, I thought the first penalty Pollard kicked was a pretty bad decision. I thought they had momentum; they should have gone for the try, and that was literally the first time they were in the 22. But then Rassi completely changed that mentality for the players in the second half, understanding as a player himself how to motivate the players, and I thought that was, again, really a lot of the brilliance showed behind the scenes from the Springbok camp. And on the other hand of the spectrum, we can see the Italians. There is a clear failure to get the players to understand the opportunity that's in front of them. And this, just Gabisi's goal kicking. How many times have we seen him, kick like 100%, and then only for the most crucial goals for him to miss, like the one against France, right? I think a couple of years ago now. They could have beaten the French team with a last-minute penalty, pretty much right in front, and he missed it. This game as well, crucial game. Huge achievement if they were to beat the reigning world defending champions. And he had opportunity after opportunity to kick goals, and he missed. How many did he miss? 3, 4? And a lot of those weren't hard, pretty much right in front as well. And again, I think one part is because the coaches don't manage the players, mentalities, don't manage the players mentally appropriately for the Italian coaching side, and that's a gap there. I think you need to Gabisi feeling nervous out there, whatever the reason might be. Clearly, something is the coaches didn't identify that before the game to try to sort that out for him beforehand. Whatever it is bothering him while he's on the field, missing all the goals, whatever it is, coaches didn't really do enough to sort that out for him before the game. And also, again, I would like to question the decision to bring your B team to South Africa. Gabisi wasn't there against the Springboks in July. I have no doubt if he was in July and kick a few penalties against the Springboks, in South Africa, he will be feeling a lot more confident tonight as well. And again, I think the decision for some of these teams to bring their B teams in July, massive mistake. Look at Wales. They went on for the biggest losing streak, in history of their nation after bringing the B team to Australia, where they had a very, very good opportunity to beat Australia, even just a little bit more there. They could have won it. They almost did it with the B team, but it's just these decisions come back to haunt you in the long term. So again, is that an opportunity that the Italians lost because they could have managed themselves a little bit better behind the scenes? That's a question for themselves to answer there as well. Damian Willemse was greatest Springbok in history. Springbok again tonight was outstanding. He literally saved so many of the kicking games, so many of the Italians' pressure, back, little grabber kicks or kick behinds was diffused by Willemse. Just, 11 out of 10 performance from Willemse tonight. And then just, I couldn't say enough for that. The scrum wasn't good, but the Springboks get themselves back late in the game, which was, I think, was probably the most important thing, both for Rassi Rasmus, not just because they were winning the scrum, but mentally having the fortitude for the players to back themselves, to get themselves back in the right mindset to win the game, to close out the game strong, was more important than winning the game on the scoreboard overall. And I think that's really, really important for them as well. So overall, I thought that the Italians had an opportunity to win the game. They definitely had a better kicking game. They really identified the space in front of them when it comes to kicking game, whereas the Springboks kind of just, especially when Pollard was just kind of punting the ball away, and you know that was really painful to watch. I'm not gonna lie, I just not sure. Anyway, but then there's a final question when it comes to Springboks. If your World Cup winning strategy, those up and unders, those box kicks, those midfield bombs into the 22 or just around the 22, if that strategy is not actually working, what's gonna happen? This is kind of like the Springboks default. This is the Springboks, World Cup winning strategy. If this strategy is shaky, whether it's because the players haven't played with each other, whether it's because the Italians have solved it, studied it, everybody's studied it extensively and just solved the style, whatever it is, it's not working for the Springboks. And they did that against the All Blacks as well at Eden Park. Did not work. So there's the question: is Rassie going to just completely shift out of that kicking strategy, kicking style, or is Rassie going to put more effort into it and salvage the crumbling strategy that they had won the World Cup with, just in case they need it again? Some of these games are different from World Cup final. In a World Cup final, every little inch counts, and defensively, people don't give away penalty. The kicking game might become more important, because it's difficult to actually score, more and more difficult to score tries against better and better defense as you head up towards the World Cup final, right? So again, this is a really a big question for Rassie Rasmus. Is he just going to completely leave that behind, or is he going to continue to try to patch up the sinking boat, which could become very, very handy when it comes to a tight game like the Rugby World Cup final? Tell me your thoughts on that one. Now let's have a look at the red card incident. So again, I've talked about this. This is basically the 20-minute red card. The red card, how it's supposed to function. Based on what the design that is for Super Rugby. Okay, so I talked about this in the news. Two things that the referee has to look at. Number one, right? The referee on field. First of all, I am pretty sure the referee on the field cannot give a 20-minute red card. I know Mike Addison did it because he doesn't understand the law. I've never seen it in Super Rugby. I've never seen it other than Mike Addison, right? But I'm pretty sure the referee on the field cannot give a 20-minute red card. But the referee in the TMO box cannot give a full red card. Once the referee on the field is determined that it's review, the TMO can only give a 20-minute, upgraded from a yellow card to a 20-minute red card. So that's a very clear, that's basically how it works in Super Rugby. Obviously, Mike Addison don't seem to understand that, but that's how it's been working. Maybe they changed the rules, and I've never seen. That's basically my observation. So the referee on the field has two decisions to make: whether it's a full red card or it's a yellow card and a review when it comes to these sort of incidences, right? So what's a full red card that the referee is looking for? Something like a striking, something like abusing a referee or abusing another player, or an illegal move. And that's what the referee was looking for on the field, whether or not it was an illegal move. And if the referee determined whatever is happening it's not an illegal move, then the mitigating factors will be considered by the 20-minute red card review process. So the referee on the field is there to determine, is it a legal move? Is it a full red card? If not, does it reach the yellow card threshold? If it's yes, then it's yellow card, off-field review, off we go, right? So what happens is the referee on the field this week, James Dolman, Kiwi referee, consistent with Angus Garner last week, determined that the tucked shoulder leading into the head is an illegal move to begin with an insufficient amount of wrapping that was attempted. And it was direct to the head. So by determining that this is an illegal move, the mitigating factors no longer applies. It's straight red card. And this is consistent with how Angus Garner looked at it last week. And so just to carry on a little bit, if the referee deemed that Lut Diakha and Mostert tonight had made a bigger wrap, let's assume that they made a very clear, obvious wrap there, hit him in the head, then the referee would have gone, yep, contact to the head, yellow card threshold, potentially 20-minute red card, off-field review. Then he will send off, and then once he's determined it's actually an illegal move, the off-field TMO would say, oh, look, there's another player involved. Both players were dipping, right? All the things you might say, Diakha and, Diakha and, Mostert, both dipping themselves. They have very small time to react. All of that will be considered by the TMO for the 20-minute red card process. But that has to be based on the fact that it's an illegal move to begin with. If it's an illegal move, shoulder tucked to the head, it doesn't matter if there's another player involved. It doesn't matter if Garbisi is falling. It doesn't matter if, he tried to. I think there's probably argue for enough of a wrap here, to be honest. It doesn't matter. All this stuff that could be considered mitigating factors. If it's considered an illegal move, which he led by the shoulder, it's straight red card. That is how this works. But I do see that you could make the argue that this here could be sufficient of a wrap. But yeah, the referee don't see it. The referee think it's a leading with the shoulder, illegal move to begin with. Yeah, so I mean it is different. It is really tough. For me, just like last week, I think this could be a 20-minute red or full red. But referee obviously determined in both weeks that this was an illegal move to begin with, full red. I don't think this was a yellow card. I do think that this was some sort of red, 50-50 for me. But I guess, again, the precedent was there last week, and at least the referees are consistent this week to give out this one as a red card as well. Now, moving on. So let's have a look at the stats of the game. So let's do a refresh. 1 try for the Italians, 4 try for the Springboks, 164 run meters for the Italians, 303 for the Springboks. I'm sure like most of that will be done in the last 20 minutes for the Springboks there. 99 carries for the Springboks, 78 for the Italians, 14 defenders beaten for the Springboks, 11 for the Italians there. 23 turnovers conceded against the Springboks. That is horrendous. That just shows you how bad the game has been for the Springboks for the most part and how good the Italians were at turning the ball over and applying pressure. 12 turnovers conceded for the Italians. Really, really well done there. 136 tackles made for the Italians. Only 14 missed tackles. It's pretty good completion right there. The Springboks as well, pretty good themselves. 103 tackles made. 11 missed tackles overall. 34 kicks for both teams. For 889 kick meters for the Italians. 725 kick meters for the Springboks there. Only 1 missed conversion at the end with the clock timed out. The Garbisi missed, 3 kicks, including 2 penalties. The 2 penalties are pretty easy. Should not have happened there for them. So a lot of points left on the table, putting a lot of pressure on themselves as a result of that. Lineouts was a bit 50-50 of both teams. 12 for the Italians, 2 lost. 10 for the Springboks, 2 lost as well. I thought the Italian maul was really good. There was one point where the Italian maul just marched like 8-10 meters. And then I thought they should have backed themselves. I thought they should back themselves and still got a penalty. I thought they should back themselves more on that maul for the Italians. But no, they were probably a little bit too conservative. Tried to go for the penalties. Didn't really trust themselves on their set piece. Again, lack of game time together would have helped. More time in July. It is my opinion. Scrum, the Italian 2 lost. They're both pretty much at the end. And the Springboks 3 scrum, 2 lost themselves as well. Really, really bad for them for most part of the game. And the Rasi really tried to fix that before the game was over, which he achieved. And that was really good. 1 yellow card for the Italians. That was for what was it? That was was it? I think it was a high tackle. One of the player had a high tackle. Went for it was a 20-minute red card review. No red, just a yellow. For the Springboks, straight red card for Diakha and sorry, not Diakha. I keep saying Diakha. Mostert, and then 1 yellow card to Van Staden for deliberately sealing the ball in front of his goal line. So that was a professional foul, yellow card there against him. So yeah, Springboks had to play 13 player at some point, but still was able to pull themselves together and dig themselves out of the hole, which was really impressive. Let's quickly do a recap of the game before this video becomes like 3 hours long. So yeah, nothing really, no points were scored for a very long time. The first points were scored 33 minutes for the Springboks. There was a scrum penalty against the Italians for not holding the weight. The referee said, I think the scrum went down and hips went up. Oh no, sorry, that was a missed one there. So a bunch of missed goals everywhere. So 32 minutes, the Springboks finally, in first time pretty much inside the Italian 22. Polo went for a drop goal. He got this one, and then the referee said there was an obstruction leading into it. And then there was a penalty taken instead, 3 points to 0 for the Springboks. 36 minutes of the game, there was a scrum turnover for the Italians. Yeah, and they taken 3 points here, 3 points apiece. Just before halftime, Italian was penalized for not holding the weight in the scrum, and then the what do you call it? The Springboks tap and go. Lots of piling in. The big forwards push themselves over the try line. And this was Van Staden, I think it was, got this one. Third, 3 points to 10, halftime for the Springboks to leave somehow. The Italians were dominating in the first half. 42 minutes in the game. There was a high ball turnover penalty against the Springboks. And then the Italian kick another 3, 6 points to 10. 51 minutes in the game, the Italians had a maul. And they literally marched like 10, 15 minutes on the maul. And got a penalty advantage as well. And then later on, Van Staden deliberately sealed off the ball. Yellow card, cynical, professional foul. And the Italian just kicked another 3. I thought they should have gone for the try here. But hey, it's rugby. If you take the easy way out, this is what you get. 9 points to 10. 54 minutes of the game, there was an offside against Italy. Then Springboks take another 3. Again, still mentally wanting to play that. Not really getting on the board yet for the Springboks. 55 minutes in the game, there was a head-on-head yellow card for the Italian player. No dipping. 62 minutes in the game. There was another penalty to the Springboks. They could have taken the 3 and kicked the scoreboard to 7 points lead, but they were not. We're gonna go for the scrum. So the Springboks went for the scrum, and then the scrum actually got a penalty for the Springboks, and Van der Berg picked out the ball, went the short, maybe the open side, went around the scrum and go in for the try. 9 points to 20. Suddenly the Springboks putting over. 64 minutes, again, the Italians showed some brilliance. Garbisi got an inside ball to Capuazzo, who ran this beautiful angle, cuts through the rush defense. Van der Berg overshot and hit Garbisi instead, and there was a big gap left behind him. And then, Capuazzo went in for the try, 14 points to 20. Suddenly, the game is back in touch, and Garbisi missed another conversion. So this could have been 4 points behind, but instead 6 points behind for the Italians. 71 minutes, the Springboks really started turning the heat on. Kane and Moody got with the wider, the ball started going much wider with the block on the field. Kane and Moody ran down the sideline, inside ball to Grant Williams, who ran under the post, 14 points to 27. And 78 minutes, finally, LeBoc crossfield kick to Ethan, not a hooker, gets the ball, dots it down for the try, 14 points to 32. LeBoc missed the shot clock, couldn't get the kickoff, but the win was guaranteed. 32 points to 14. Springboks, nice and strong finish to the end. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys later. Cheers.